Hey everybody, welcome to today's webinar. Today's pricing and profits, mastering showroom and warehousing for flooring success. So I'm going to talk about some best practices for should you not price your showroom, and then best practices in the warehouse, double checks to put in place. So I'm the general manager of our business management system over at Broadloom. And so over the many years of doing this, I've visited hundreds of flooring dealers. So these are some things I've observed over that time, some objections I've heard, and how to best handle inventory and some simple things that anybody can take advantage of. These are true of whatever software you run and operate. These are best practices for about any system, whether you're on an industry system like one of ours, competitors, or even if you're running Excel spreadsheets. Some of these are actionable and you can put into place. So the first thing is to price your showroom or not. And this is a pretty divisive question out there. I would venture to say probably 60–70% of flooring dealers do not price their showroom. And so we'll talk about why that is and, what we think you should be doing. So not pricing your showroom has a lot of problems with it inherent because you're not being transparent with the client. And it creates a bad customer experience. There's kind of some emotional hits that the customer will feel, whether they convey that to you or not. They have anxiety. They may be looking at stuff out of their price range. Maybe they don't know the quality level of different things and they associate price to quality level. So this can leave you with lost opportunities and create a weird vibe in the showroom that you're not even aware of. So if you think about who else doesn't price their showrooms, out there in the real world, about the only people I can think of is used car lots. Even that's becoming a thing of the past. Most car lots nowadays price. But think about when you've ever been to a car lot and there's no prices on any of the cars, and you have to wait for a salesperson and ask them how much each item is. So, that feeling when you ask the price of a car, and nowadays you pull out your phone and you double check the price on the dealer's website because sometimes they price it differently than the showroom. So it kind of erodes any sense of trust that you had or makes it more difficult to build that sense of trust. So when I think about the consumer experience, I have a hard time thinking of any reason you really wouldn't want to price your showroom. Now, there's a lot of reasons dealers give me for not pricing their showroom. Well, the biggest thing is time, too many changes. Last year we had 3, 4 price increases. Who can keep up with it anymore? So I talked to a lot of dealers where, yeah, we used to price our showroom, but we gave up last year because of all the changes. So you have to think of your showroom as an investment, and you already do so. You're buying nice display racks, you're spending time merchandising it and marketing it, and pricing it, that time is an investment in your showroom as well. There's ways to automate it with, digital price tags, QR codes, Excel spreadsheet stickers, but you definitely need to price your showroom and get over that objection of how many changes there are. It's just something you have to figure out. It's kind of retail 101 that everything on display should have a price. Now, another objection I hear is, we need advisors. You shouldn't come into my store unguided. We should be walking you around, asking you questions, trying to find the right product, and so on and so forth. That maybe the shopping experience should be more collaborative and the sales reps need to be there. But sometimes that's a turn off to a customer. Sometimes they want to browse a little bit before they engage with the salesperson. Sometimes they may engage with the salesperson, then want a little break and a browse around on their own after they've gotten a little education. They should have the tools to shop and try to find something in their budget. And of course, you should have advisors. Of course, you should greet and ask questions and, steer them to the right product, but they should be able to have self-service as well. They should be able to look around, browse, and find something in their budget. Oftentimes, they've already done a lot of research. So oftentimes they're looking for tags and thicknesses and wear layers, and then ultimately the price to go with it. So then, of course, we hear, people will just price shop us. Well, I mean, they're going to price shop you anyways. And so price shopping sort of a known thing, and being transparent and upfront about your pricing is only going to just cut to the chase. And if you're too expensive for them, so be it. The fact that you got to talk to them probably isn't going to change that. You're going to lose a few price aggressive shoppers, maybe. At the same token, the big box stores have high price products and entry level price products, and they clearly mark everything so that customers can steer to the product within their budget. So that's one of the things I think about is what do my competitors do? And I'm not talking about a small competitor down around the corner. I'm thinking about the big companies, the big retailers of the world that have spent millions of dollars studying the shopping experience and, store layouts and merchandising and things that are going to help drive sales. Every retailer you can think of prices. So if the big box stores have done this research and figured out you should have products priced, you should allow consumers to walk around and shop, then they probably have done their homework already. And it's probably safe to say that it is the right decision to price your showroom. So, some of the pain points for traditional pricing is mainly how manual it is. You're restickering items, you're trying to figure out what went up in price, what changed prices, when was the last time you updated it, and then you're constantly adding stickers to it. If you don't do that, then you have like a customer blind spot where there's no information, no sale, lack of real-time product information frustrates customers. You know, it's true a lot of people do buy on color, but that's not their only buying decision. They want to feel and touch products, they want to learn about them and get the right product for their fit, and pricing is part of that fit. So, recommendations would be to have some sort of digital way to price your showroom. Now, this can be software where you have a pricing system, so you're ditching those price binders. It can be QR codes. It can be digital price tags. Those are really cool. A little pricey, but they're very aesthetically pleasing and easy to update. So we offer a few solutions in-house at Broadloom, but if you use competing software, another ERP system, they probably offer QR codes too. So what we offer is a QR system as an add-on to our business management software. So it's already built into the system. We have to activate it and a nominal fee that allows you to print QR codes right out of the system. This gives you a one-stop shop, all your product catalogs in one place. You print forever labels. Your QR codes are on there one time forever, and the customer's empowered to shop at their own leisure and find products in their price range and be more prepared when your salesperson does speak to them. We also offer a standalone program called product pricing, which is for somebody that doesn't have an ERP system. Maybe you're running QuickBooks, but you want to ditch the binders, get rid of all the manual pricing, have a single system with all of your pricing in one place with supplier feeds from all the B2B suppliers, the major manufacturers and distributors, over 50 of them, I believe, that are supplying data to our pricing catalog. And then optionally print QR codes so the consumer can scan those and get pricing in real time as well. And your sales staff can scan those. So again, there's many solutions out there. I'm mainly imploring that you should be pricing your showroom. If you have an ERP system, ideally those QR codes come out of that. Our ERP offers that. And if you don't have an ERP system and you want to, get rid of the binders and price your showroom, we have a solution for that as well. So in our product pricing system, a few screenshots from there, but basically you can have saved lists of different products. These products come in automatically via B2B. So all the major manufacturers, most of the major distributors are participating. And so your entire price list with your SKUs, your pricing come into the system automatically. So that gives you a central repository. So you're not keeping up with binders and PDFs. And then you put in pricing models. So you can say, oh, I want to make this margin. I want to round up to the next 9 cents. And maybe on this category, I want to make another margin, or based on the cost of items, I want different margins. The rounding boosts your profit margin as well. So all that's built into it. And then it changes the shopping experience from then on. One time you go around, sticker your showroom with a QR code that looks like that. And then if your consumer is in the showroom and scans it, or a sales rep for that matter, they can get your retail pricing right then and there. So I do like physically pricing your showroom, but it is a lot to keep up with. This is kind of a one-time exercise and you're done and your showroom is priced. This increases transparency and trust with the consumer because you're not hiding anything. You're not like that used car lot where, the salesman comes out and decides what they want to sell you that product for today. And I know that may not be what really happens in reality, but that's sometimes what it can feel like for a consumer when it's not transparent, clear pricing. So our product pricing program, that's the standalone one that works that you can use with QuickBooks or Excel sheets or whatever you're working with, is $199 a month and $99 per additional location. We don't do setup fees. We don't do per user costs. And we also don't charge based on your business revenue. Seems like a kind of a silly pricing model. So we just charge flat per location and print as many tags as you want, use as many B2B suppliers as you want, have as many logins to the system as you want. Now, if you have our BMS system already, then this is kind of built into it. So it's actually half the price of this included with our BMS system. Some of the packages actually already include this. If you don't and you want the standalone system because you're using QuickBooks or another accounting system, then $199 covers you. All right, so moving to the back of the house, we talked about your showroom a little bit and tagging there, but there's some tagging that should be going on in your warehouse as well. So we're going to talk about best practices of warehousing. And to get started, we'll talk about consequences of poor warehousing. You're going to have some back office nightmares. You could have lost sales, frustrated customers. Maybe you sell something you think is in stock, but it's not. You could have inefficiencies and inaccuracies. You're going to lead to delays in finding products and loading up installers and customers. Lack of process creates frustration and stress, makes it more difficult for new staff to get on board and understand the way of doing things. And inventory discrepancies cause miscalculations of profit and loss. One of the most common things I see when people don't have an ERP system or they're not using it properly is they have a warehouse full of stuff that's not in the system. So they go and sell an item and bring in some more adhesive or bring in a product that they actually had 2 buckets of back there, but they didn't know it, or several boxes of back there and they didn't know it. So everything in your warehouse should be in your system, even if it's at zero cost. Maybe you costed it out already, but it should all be in there to make you more profitable so you sell and get rid of that inventory rather than ordering it in fresh because you didn't even know you had 2 buckets back there. So there's many different examples of how this can cause inefficiencies and inaccuracies and erode your profit. So one of the first best practices is tag everything. Every product, roll, sample, remnant needs a unique identifier. So barcode tags work nicely if you're in a barcode system, but everything should have a label on it. You should be able to walk the warehouse and see what everything is. You should not have to expect the warehouse guy to be there and say, where is product X? And they know where it is. So findability, you want anybody without prior knowledge to be able to walk the warehouse and find things. And I mentioned tagging. Our business management system tags with barcodes. There's several other tagging systems out there, but if the way you track inventory can have tags built into it, you should be utilizing that. Again, so that anybody can walk in the warehouse and find product. So this provides essential data for tracking stock levels, sales patterns, inventory value, and so on. Now, speaking of finding product, bin locations are a key to set up. So you should have areas around your warehouse with some sort of nomenclature naming system. For example, maybe you number your aisles 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you have shelves, A, B, C, D, and then bins 1, 2, 3, 4. So something might be in 3B2, representing aisle 3, shelf B, bin number 2. Many ways you can come up with that, but you want some sort of nomenclature for bins. And then however you track your inventory, whether it's in an ERP system like ours, a competitor's, or you're using Excel spreadsheets, you should have a location there. You should have a bin location of where that item is. And it goes back to if your warehouse person's off that day or out for a week, anybody should be able to find it and pull an order. You shouldn't be relying on somebody that has it up here on where to go find something. And so even if it's an order that's pulled, that should be in a specific bin location. Inventory should be in specific bin locations. That's in however you're tracking it. Excel spreadsheet that should be labeled, tagged, and it should be in the right place. So by doing this, you're organizing and creating a defined system and a place for everything, which reduces your time searching for product. This should make picking and packing easier and putting things back easier when you get leftovers from a job and things like that. Ultimately, it has to do with scalability. As your business grows, your inventory grows, the bin system can easily expand. What I usually see out there consulting customers that are not using bin locations, naturally it's because they didn't need them at some point. At some point they had 3 bins and you could just see everything right there, or they had, 2 aisles. So you get here because you grew and then didn't realize you needed a system in place. So naturally it's hard to go back and put this bin system in place, but it's very essential to keep growing. Everybody I've met that utilizes bin locations, it can't really fathom how you could live without them. When I mention like, oh, 30% of my clients don't use bin locations, they're like, what? How do they know where anything is? So it's one of these things that if you have any decent amount of inventory, more than 2 aisles, you need to just start bin tagging everything and knowing where everything is so that you can scale with it. So bin locations also dramatically help cycle counts. Bin locations make them much quicker, more manageable, and accurate, and they allow you to take bite-sized chunks. You can divide your warehouse into sections based on bin locations or, aisles and things like that. This allows you to do smaller cycle counts on a rotating basis, make sure everything's counted. You want these counts to be randomized, not following a predictable schedule. You don't publish the cycle count schedule. You just tell whomever's going to count, hey, this is the stuff we're counting today or we're counting this week. And by doing bins, that gives you a nice strategic way to do it. And no matter how much chaos is in your warehouse, you can get one bin location perfect and accurate. Then tomorrow you can do the next, and the next day you can do the next bin location until you have everything dialed in and in order. So some best practices on tagging and bin locations. So well-planned bin locations save you time and money. So draw out your warehouse, think about it, and come up with a nomenclature. You want to actually, if you're utilizing barcoding in any ERP system, you should barcode your bins to make bin movement easier so you can scan them. So you want tags that will withstand warehouse conditioning. You want visibility. So like these bin tags, you're not going to put on the fourth shelf 20 feet in the air. You're going to put the 1, 2, 3 tags at eye level. And then you want consistency and a standardized labeling system across all your product types. And then whenever possible, you want this to integrate with your business management system. So our clients mostly utilize our barcoding. So they're barcoding the bins, barcoding material, and they're leveraging a wireless handheld scanner to do things like inventory, bin changes in real time. So if your software offers integrated barcoding, highly recommend you take advantage of it. Use those tools to manage one of your largest assets. So going back to cycle counts and thinking about some best practices of cycle counts. Frequent small scale inventory checks. Don't do the dreaded annual full warehouse count. So when I talk to people and I say like, oh, do you inventory? Yeah, we do once a year. And then my next question is usually, so when do you do that? Like New Year's Day when everybody comes in hungover? And naturally you get a chuckle. But the problem with once a year inventory is when you find problems, you literally have like a year to try to figure out what happened. So you're kind of truing up your inventory. I don't think you're managing your inventory. You're truing it up so it's accurate that one day, but you have no idea why what was missing is missing, and you didn't do anything to rectify the problem. You just trued up the inventory on January 1st. So by doing regular ones, you're finding mistakes, you're figuring out that somebody miscuts carpet a lot or mistakes these two products and swaps them or is giving away supplies. So by doing regular cycle counts, you're able to get ahead of this and actually fix the underlying problems and manage your inventory, not just count it. So some other best practices to it We mentioned blind cycle counts, we mentioned randomizing, small frequent ones. Um, Small sections of inventory can be done based on product type. Maybe today you count carpet, tomorrow you count tile. Maybe you do it by bin locations. You want to physically put your hands on all items, and you want some checks and balances. So let's say you have a warehouse guy and you don't have barcoding, so you print count sheets and they run around count everything. Somebody should spot check that. Somebody should go double check things to make sure they didn't just check everything off and pencil whip it and say, yeah, inventory's great, boss. So then you want to compare those discrepancies from the count with your system. And again, the frequency matters a lot, because if you find a discrepancy and this item's been sold 80 times this year, it's going to be really hard to figure out when it was miscut, mishandled. Receiving and shipping best practices. These are some really basic things to put into play. And I've recommended this for years with people using our business management system, and everybody that has utilized this doesn't go back. They find this to be a big help. So you want to build in double checks with any system and process in your business when possible. You want to have some sort of two-person verification. So when you're talking about receiving inventory, somebody's probably physically checking in the inventory, putting it away, and they may be receiving it in the computer system or spreadsheet or whatever you do. There should be somebody that double checks that. If you're using our business management system, you'd run a receiving report and match that to the packing slips. And that's just a very quick double check that the warehouse received everything properly. And that allows you to quickly catch and fix mistakes on the front end. By fixing them the day they came in or the day after, you're getting ahead of a lot of problems. Maybe they over receive something and you're going to prevent a salesperson tomorrow from overselling something, over promising something. Or maybe they misreceive something or under receive something. You're going to prevent a headache a few days later when the AP person tries to reconcile the AP bill against the purchase order and receiving records. So by doing that double check on the front end and making sure things were received properly, you're fixing just natural human errors that happen, and you're catching them the day they happen. The same goes on outgoing jobs. So everything that leaves the building needs a work order. And that's it. I don't care if it's just one bucket of glue, one T-mold, work order when it goes out the door. That's how the warehouse knows to pull an order, and that's permission to let this item leave. So you should get a work order and perhaps sign it by the installer or consumer picking it up. Now, if your processes and systems are capable, it's even better to scan the barcodes on the way out. So you can, in our system, and I'm sure others, you can scan the work order, scan the product as a true verification that the right product went out, the right roll went out for that job, the right plank went out for that job. So if your systems allow it, you should be scanning things both in when you receive it, scanning mill barcode tags to automate the receiving process, and scanning work orders out the door to build in that double check. So these are some basic best practices that are pretty easy to implement with most systems. Now, overall, one of the biggest overarching things you want to do with inventory is create a culture of inventory. A strong inventory culture requires buy-in and participation from everybody in the company, not just warehouse staff. So when I mention these double checks and these procedures, in and of themselves, they're worthwhile double checks and procedures. However, it creates that accountability and that culture that we are counting things, we are tracking things, and accuracy matters here. So you're setting expectations about the accuracy. Another big one is management actively participating in cycle counts and physical inventories. So get out of the office and participate in that day's cycle count. You're simultaneously being a spot checker and double checking people's work. You're also showing the importance, the value, and how high of a priority it is for the company. And then celebrate successes related to inventory management. And we'll talk about, spiffs and things like that. But of all these different procedures, management involvement is consistently is a real key to showcase how important this is for your company and how serious you are about tracking it. So creating a culture of inventory requires buy-in and participation from everybody in the company, not just warehouse staff. By doing these things, you are cross-training departments. Every department understands their role in maintaining inventory data. So a lot of times people are working in a silo where they just receive inventory or they just post AP bills. When you cross-train and they see the importance on the other departments, it can increase the accountability. For example, maybe the warehouse person doesn't realize that, a little receiving screw up could cause a sales headache when they oversell a product. Or when purchasing makes a mistake, that trickles down to receiving, trickles down to AP. So it's management's job to bridge that gap and bring these departments together to make sure they understand how interconnected everything is. So metrics being tracked is a key thing. So create goals, checks and balances in place. What should our shrink number be this year, and keep people cognizant of that monthly, where they are at on that. I've seen people put rewards and incentive programs in place, even as simple as just the pad inventory, because they know the warehouse guy should be shorting the pad a little bit at the back door. So maybe just, how much pad can we win this year? And that'll be tied to the warehouse person's bonus. That's just a simple rudimentary example. But overall, when you make something part of the rewards recognition, it can help change behavior. Then tools and training are critical. You can have, the right procedures, but if you don't train people properly, it doesn't help. You can have a barcoding system in place, but if they're not trained to use it and they're not using it every day, it won't move the needle like you're looking to. So you need internal training on your store's procedures and policies. You need to document these things, and then training on whatever tools and systems you have in place. All right. Thanks, everybody. That was a quick webinar on pricing your showroom, the importance of it, some simple warehousing best practices that hopefully you can carry